views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Get ready for a game changer. Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sarah will bring you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Now here's your host, Sarah Westall.
Welcome to Business Game Changers. I'm Sarah Westall, and you're listening to Conscious Business Radio on the Transformation Talk Radio Network. Do you think world peace is possible? I think with all the events going on around the world, and probably with the events going on lately in St. Paul and Dallas and Louisiana, you question whether peace is ever possible. Well, today I have a very special guest coming on, Deborah Green, and she has embarked on the largest project of its kind to bring world peace to the planet. They are visiting 100 countries, and they are doing peace blogs. They're filming short blogs and asking people what peace means to them. And they are going to weave together an overall picture of what the state of mind of peace is in the world. And the goal is to learn and to communicate and to try to understand people and different perspectives. They are also going all around the United States, which is really important for us to be able to understand what the state of mind of the United States is, as we are suffering through a lot of really strange and just a really strange political season. We're getting into pretty chaotic times, and it's important for all of us to just take a moment and understand what other people are thinking. Her organization also has an application called Take a Moment, and she's going to explain what that is and how they use it. It's really interesting device on an application on how to figure out what everyone is thinking. And they're using it to help bring peace. I mean, people talk about world peace, but I believe it's kind of just talk. But these people are really taking it on and taking it very seriously. And they're trying to figure out how to create peace in this world. Very, very good people. And I've seen part of this documentary that they're doing, and it's really high quality. And after I looked at the team of people, they've won a ton of awards in their past projects, television, movie, documentary projects, then I started to realize why the quality was so high. These people aren't messing around. They're doing a really great job. They're going to so many different countries. It's a ton of work. And there's a lot of money going into this project. And it's really impressive. And it couldn't come at a better time. And I'm going to share with you a recent worldwide survey that was done by the Gallup International Group. This was about 18 months ago. And it kind of shows why it's so important for the people of the United States to really embark in something like this and to try to understand what people are thinking. This particular survey asked over 66,000 people in 65 countries what country posed the greatest threat to world peace. And the results showed that the United States was viewed as the biggest threat by far, with 24% of the vote. The next closest was Pakistan, and they were only at 8%, followed by China at 6%. So we are considerably higher than the rest of the world in their eyes as viewed as the greatest threat. Now, whether we are or not, is something up for debate, but that's what they believe, and that's their perspective. And a lot of times people's perspective is what creates reality. And So it's really important for us to understand what different people around the world think. And so we're bringing her on, Deborah Green, and she's going to talk about her documentary project, and she's also going to talk about her Live a Moment initiatives and share with us what her application does and how it works and how she's fundraising. How is she raising money for this incredible amount of work and this huge project that they're embarking on? So now I'm going to welcome Deborah Green to the program. Hi, Deborah. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So you're on a quest that to me seems impossible, but we can't not do it, right? You're working on world peace.
Yeah. I mean, let's start with a civil dialogue and then we'll go from there.
It's as the world it's becoming an international place of commerce, and there's only a finite number of resources. So we have to figure out how to get along just to conduct business and to live. So it's a never-ending thing that we have to work on. But you have some actual tools that you're working on. You're actually really trying to do it. So what you have a tool called Live a Moment, and what is that?
Well, Live a Moment actually is set to be an app, and we will be releasing it shortly. The point with Live a Moment is it's actually a fundraising tool that uses mindfulness and moments of global connection to help raise funds and raise awareness for things people are working on around the world. There's a huge movement in the mindfulness community, which again, can be considered woo-woo. And I jokingly say our culture is one where we are taking the woo out of woo-woo.
Yeah, because in the business world, it's so not that. So how do you turn it into something concrete?
Well, the interesting thing about that is it's there's a huge, quote, mindfulness space in the business world at this point.
Oh, yeah, mindfulness, definitely, yeah.
But again, it's like I kind of want to take it out of mindfulness and out of meditation and even out of prayer. It's like people have these words for it, and basically what it's looking to do is to allow people to realize that they're going to be a little bit more productive if they take a moment, if they have a moment to just stop the pace that we're on right now, which oftentimes it's too fast, and we have too many things that are pulling at us, and we're not able to do the work that we used to be able to do.
Well, having a balanced life is so important, right? And being able to just slow down and think about what it is that you're doing, so that you're not, it's the mindfulness. Just think about what you're doing instead of just being a crazy person and moving forward.
People jokingly, it's back to that thing that your grandmother said, like count to 10, do you really want to say that? And building tools so that we can become, that we can cultivate some resilience. And that's great in business. I mean, you're talking about resources, and we can get back to that in a second, and how, this tool actually helps build commerce. So we'll get to that, but I wanted to talk about this cultivating thing, which is the only way that we're going to be able to have these conversations when it comes to world peace, or in business when it comes to peace in the office, is learning how to de-escalate and how to take those moments so that we can have conversations when the moment is not a great moment.
Would you think the high stress level, everybody's on edge, and so it creates just so many more issues? So this is trying to get that edge off?
I think that's the reason why the mindfulness community, or why this whole concept is gotten so widespread. It's because there is this need. We love technology. We love our gadgets. And I'm in San Francisco, so we really love our gadgets out here. We want the new next best thing. And yet we have a dis-ease. We have a sense that something is off, and yet we don't want to let it go. And a level of, stress that's just, you wake up with it. You know, I jokingly say we touch our phones more than we touch ourselves, you know, and certainly more than we touch each other. You know, it's the thing we hold the most all day long. And there's got to be a moment to figure out how to remain connected and also go back and connect with yourself. And that's not a woo-woo thing. That's literally, how can I hear my own voice to make smart decisions?
Well, basic management it's, you know, the talk of balance has always been part of managing people, right? How do you create a balance in the workplace? Otherwise, it escalates into a stressful environment that people can't handle.
Well, I think this is where it's going, which is how fast things are moving. And this is really where it gets relevant to business as well. It is when you look at how things used to make their way across the world. You know, there was a span of time. We were used to change happening, but change happened in a way that we could handle and our bodies could handle. And what happens now is that changes can happen overnight, and we've seen it because of some thing that happens in the world or some new discovery or new product can shift an entire market or can shift an entire economy or shift an entire government overnight. And that's because of these new tools that we have the internet and
the ability to collectively connect.
Yeah. And so there's these great things that come out of that. And then there's this other part, which is that we're not structurally made to handle that much change, you know, biologically and, you know, how we're designed.
Unless you're on the forefront of it, unless you're the one making the change, you want it. But if if you're just always being affected by it, it's really difficult.
Right. And again, chemically, we're designed to see that as danger. You know, we're looking for commonalities in our life, in our day that we can count on. And biologically, we want to know that exists and we can count on this and count on that. And when it keeps changing, chemically, we think, okay, that's danger. And we have to learn how to stand in those moments of change and go, okay, it's cool. I'm good. And how do I build the resilience to do that? And that's where all these apps and mindfulness stuff comes in. And I think that's why corporations are really looking to use them to help with their team building and cohesiveness and things like that.
Well, and the other thing that you talk about with this is the global nature of this app. How does creating groups on a global scale, you talk about renewing the spirit of philanthropy, but how do creating groups, you know, on a global scale, why is that so important?
Well, this is where I get excited about this. So there are apps out there that allow you to kind of go, okay, I need a moment. I'm going to take this moment right now and go out, you know, listen to this teacher, and I'll take 5 minutes and decompress. What we're trying to do with Live a Moment is individually take that moment, but know that other people around the world are taking that moment with us, and be able in a cohesive way to kind of clock how everybody's feeling at that moment. And that's what it does. It actually tracks our global consciousness at a moment. And I think, you know, I mean,
how does it do that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? What does it do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's simple in some forms, and then there are other things behind it that make it much more interesting, you know, to go deep into the data that comes out of it and that you can see, you know, I mean, what it does is it's at the top of any given hour, you decide what moment you're going to take. And I'm only asking people to take 3 minutes, you know, so it's not a huge commitment. It's really a couple of breaths. And I'll decide at 11 o'clock or at 2 o'clock that I'm going to take my moment, and you can curate your own moment of calm. And, you know, we have beautiful artists involved that are going to be there creating this. And so you have that moment, and afterwards you plug in a couple of words, and it tracks how many people around the world are thinking the same thought at you at the same moment and where. So you're able to literally get kind of a pulse, a momentary pulse on how the world feels at a given moment.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It is really cool, because I think that's the part that keeps you connected in a real way. It's not about, you know, who's eating the same sandwich as you. It's like, who's having the same experience that I'm having.
Well, you can almost extrapolate and say, okay, only X amount of people in the world are using this app or even know about the app. So that means that this is how many people are really thinking about, how they do surveys and
Yes.
political surveys, and they can find out what that extrapolates out to the whole population. You can kind of do some of that with this app.
Absolutely. And we're definitely, we have people involved and scientists involved who are looking at that. And I mean, the thing that's exciting to me with it, with everything that's happening in the world, is that we can also take moments when things are happening that are scary to the world, that there's something that happened, that is causing pain, and that people can take a moment collectively, that we don't have to wait till Sunday for somebody to organize, a silent moment, and it's more about de-escalating in the moment of saying, this happened today. I want to feel part of a larger global community. And I think that it's key with everything that's going on politically too, and not to get too far down that track, but it's, what's happening politically for us makes this moment, it makes it even more important that we can find our commonalities. And even if our commonality is just, I'm a human being, you're a human being, and, we're worried.
Well, it's so important to do this when we're becoming a global society, because the clash of cultures that are going on is going to create a political unrest just by itself. Mm-hmm. It's like bringing any groups together, just even on a small scale, you bring outside groups together, there's going to be clashes. And so the fact that we are so much more worldwide connected, we're going to have a lot of those clashes, and we have to figure out how to get past that. So there's going to be political issues just based on that. Yes. And then the change adds another dimension. And then the fearfulness of change by the people that are in power adds a whole other. And then, of course, there's the whole money issue and other things that I talk about a lot. But
personal safety, that's just, am I fed? Are my children fed? Are we safe?
Yes. And then also the governments with their money issues, it's just, there's on a personal note, and then there's on a government note. But then what I like about this is getting back to, well, how do we solve some of these? I mean, we need people taking on this challenge to make it a better place. I'm one of those that thinks, well, I don't know if world peace is ever really possible, because I think on a government level, we could get world peace with always having kind of rogue people in charge in governments, the problems like that. And then you always have the gang mentality. So you have gangs fighting each other. But I think we can get to a point where we're at a much more of a level of world peace, and it's something we should fight for all the time.
Well, I think there's a couple of things that you just said that are so important. Part of it is building commonality, that what this does, meaning what technology does in general, is it evens the playing field as far as having a voice. If you're able to get to a medium where you can put something out, you have a voice in the world community. And what that does is it creates a place where we no longer have the ability to create a wall, no matter what anybody says. You see behind the wall, there cannot be, another Cold War or an Iron Curtain. We know what's going on the other side of that wall, that curtain, and we see our commonalities. And that's part of what this does, is on a very basic level goes, oh, we're all here on the planet now, having a similar experience at this moment, and changes the conversation from nation to nation, to people. And I think that's the key thing, that when I look at politicians now, I think in terms of a global community, not just America, and I think that's a societal shift that's going to happen through technology, is that it's not just, it's not about, we are the greatest nation any longer. It's that, are we a nation that takes care of our own and is a good global citizen as a nation?
Well, the scary part is that some of the companies don't see themselves as a United States corporation. They see them as an international company. And so we have to make a point to refocus on some of the things of how do we take care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it's one is not at the cost of the other. Actually, it becomes more of a moment where you're thinking as a whole, but it isn't, I don't think it's about going beyond our borders and not paying attention to what we have what's happening here. And, one of the things that we talked about, before we got on the call, when we were talking about the documentary that we're working on, that we're taking a moment.
Yes. And I want to talk about your documentary.
Yeah, we're taking a moment to go across country as well as all around the world. And we're filming, well, we're calling them peace blogs, but basically we're asking people like, how are you feeling right now as far as what is your state of peace? What is your personal state of peace? And what do you feel like the overall global state of peace is? And is it possible if we have more personal peace, we may bring more peace to the world, and again, those sound kind of, pink bubble thinking, but it goes back to the basics that if you are a more peaceful person and have a way of coming into the world that is from that perspective, when you're presented with something that's different from you, something that you might consider an other, you're going to have more resiliency and compassion and ability to have a conversation and say, how's that working for you? As opposed to, what are you talking about? And that's what we have to cultivate. And so, we're having these conversations with people all over the world. We were in Pakistan after the Lahore attacks, and, we're heading over to, some of the refugee camps, in Germany. And I am personally traveling cross country and literally going from state to state over the summer and interviewing people from all walks of life about, how they're feeling about the election cycle and how that is affecting them personally and what they want to see for the world, so that we can tie it together and really get a sense, like I said, a pulse of what is going on around the world at this moment in time.
You're filming in over 100 countries, right? I mean, you're really
all over the place. Yes. And
you are really putting effort into this, which is amazing. Yeah. What do you feel is the overall purpose of this thing?
Well, for the documentary?
Yes.
It started actually after 9/11. My background at the time, I was working with restorative justice practices and working in jails and also in the corporate settings as well, but talking from a perspective of how do you communicate and nonviolent communication and all of those kind of things. And my response to 9/11 was getting in a car and driving up and down the West Coast and working with high school students and finding out what their perspective was and wanting to open up a conversation with them, but not doing it from any place of terror, not coming in and talking directly to what had just happened, but to get a sense of where they were and where they, what was on their mind. And what ended up happening, which is similar to what you were talking about, like, is world peace possible? A young boy kind of looked up at me and said, I can't do this. You keep thinking like the next generation is going to take care of your problems. Like you created this and now you're telling us we're going to fix it. And world peace is too big for me. And at that moment, I looked at him and I said, well, what about 3 feet of peace? Can you do 3 feet? Like your personal 3 feet circumference? Can you create a peaceful world around you? And, how do we, you cut each other off in traffic on the way to church or yoga, and then you sit down next to each other and supposed to be in some spiritual place, and you weren't bringing that to the street, and how do you do that? And so that becomes the conversation that I was looking to have then, and then now I'm wanting to create globally. Like, how do we stop and create a moment where we can as a knee-jerk reaction, instead of the fear, go to a place of hope and calm. And so I think that's what the videos are about is, people are kind of stunned right now, Sarah. I think that people are looking around the nation going, is this who we are? Is this America? And I want to find out who America is. And then find out who we are in terms of who we are as part of the global picture.
Well, and I would think it's one thing to have this much fast change in the United States, but a lot of these other countries are starting from a technology place that's where they didn't have any technology, and they're kind of getting thrown into the change at world, at lightning pace. It's lightning pace here, but very quick there. How quickly some of these changes are occurring. So it'll be interesting to see what their thoughts are as well, and relating it back to, how that's affecting everybody. I love the idea of getting a pulse of what we are as a country, because I'm not sure if we know We think we do, but we're all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I wanted to talk about is your documentary being at such a high quality. I'm going to get into a different topic about funding, but talk about I want to share your thoughts on what I just talked about.
The quality of it. Well, I mean, I do have a background in the arts and in filming, and so I really enlisted some of my favorite filmmakers that I could find. Jorg Fokel and Amir Jafar are wonderful award-winning photographers and filmmakers, and have worked with, everybody from Sundance Channel to National Geographic to et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, the quality of your documentary is very high, and you're traveling to countries all over the world. You're traveling all over our country. This is a very costly documentary. And did you do a major fundraising for this or what?
Well, we continue to do fundraising for the whole thing. So, I mean, it's ongoing. It's an ongoing fundraising effort.
I am sure. Do you have big people? Do you have donors that are putting money into this, or is it small?
Yes, we do have donors, and then we're self-funding in some ways. And part of it also is to the initiative for the app. And so, that's part of what we're doing in our funding model for the app. It's really important that the people who get involved with the whole funding, match our ethos. I've turned down money.
Have you really? That is actually impressive.
Yeah. Because
Why did you turn down money? What was the reasons?
Because it's something that's going to grow exponentially. And I know that, and that I want to make sure that, as an entrepreneur, as you grow an idea, and especially if you're working on something like world peace, this is not a vanity project,
Yeah,
this is about the whole, and so I have to make sure that everybody that enters in is coming from that perspective.
We need to take a short break, and we'll be back with Business Game Changers and Deborah Green in a moment.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Pat. The ancient Inca root vegetable maca is world-renowned for its wide array of health benefits. As a family-run company of true maca specialists, the Maca team's mission is to provide you with fresh, organic, premium quality maca powders at a fair price. Amazing. All of the products are always organically grown, fair-traded, GMO-free, fresh, and potent. So don't take my word for it. Experience the life-changing benefits of maca today. Visit themacateam.com.
There are so many resources out there for meditation. But did you know that Atana's Heart Earth Healing Meditation is available for you for free? Yes, that's right. You can receive this free healing meditation today from Atana Badili. All you need to do is visit his website, atanamethod.com. That's ATAANA method.com, and sign up. You will receive your free meditation instantly. That's atanamethod.com.
Are you ready for a game changer? Sarah Westall is bringing you Business Game Changers Radio. Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in to Business Game Changers Mondays at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Pat. I am so thrilled. I've had the honor of working with Leslie Fontaine for the past year or so, and what she has created in her hit program, Sheer Alchemy, transcends what most of us get to listen to or hear in any point in time in our lives. But beyond that, Leslie is working with people all over the world, and she has created something phenomenal based on the feedback and input from the archangels, from the ascended masters, from the light beings, and most importantly, from each and every one of you. So if you want to change your life, if you're ready to step into your own version of sheer alchemy, please give Leslie a call at 678-665-3366. And why? Because this is what you're going to be prepared to do. Be amazed, and on your part, connect with the ascended masters that are there to help you custom make the life that you are meant to live.
A word of caution: if you prefer the status quo and you are not interested in improving every aspect of your life, this book will trigger the shift out of you. The Truth is Funny, Shift Happens is available now. Author Colette Steffen brings the powerful knowledge and life-changing energy and empowerment from the radio airwaves to the pages of her new book. To get your copy in paperback or ebook, visit thetruthisfunny.com today.
And welcome back. This is Business Game Changers, and we're talking to Deborah Green, and she is the National Director of the Peace Alliance. And we are talking to her about her amazing documentary and her Live a Moment initiatives that she is doing. But before we get into that, I want to remind you that you can see all of my past shows and hear all of those at sarahwestall.com. I also write up blogs about the different cutting edge things that are going on and about the topics of the shows that I am covering. And I want to remind you of all the different places that you can reach this podcast. Not only can you get it on WBLQ, which plays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time and at 12:30 a.m., the only stereo AM station on the East Coast. You can also listen to it on TransformationTalkRadio.com, streaming live each Monday at 3 p.m. So I hope you tune into that or reach my podcast. And the podcasts are available on over 90 different digital channels. So you should be able to find it wherever your favorite podcasts are. So now let's get back to Deborah Green.
They don't have to have the same perspective as me. Quite honestly, I want a diverse team. I mean, that's incredibly important to me, but it can't just be about the money, And so if somebody is asking questions that are only about the money and not about the intent and the vision and actually where it grew from, then they're not seeing the whole picture.
Well, if they're only in it for the money, then they're part of the problem. That's the problem that we're trying to solve.
Right. I mean, and that comes down to the funding thing of how the app works in general. I've been in nonprofits and I've started nonprofits before, and I've also, been tasked to run nonprofits. I've also been in corporate settings, and I've been a strategic planner for mission-driven companies and for nonprofits in the past. And, being a nonprofit is it's really difficult. And that's where the B Corp came from, is trying to find another model to make it work, so that you're not always seeking and competing for small amounts of funding or even large amounts of funding, and you spend all your time doing the fundraising as opposed to your work. That's what happens in the nonprofit. So B Corps are wonderful, and that was another step towards it. But I think what we're finding and what a lot of companies are finding now is that there's got to be another way that we can make sure that our stakeholders are getting what they need as a for-profit company, but that the intention behind the company actually is one with philanthropic roots, and not just in I give 1% as much as, I give 50%, and that's what we're looking at with the model that we have, which is that, what is creating the mass. And, it's not launched yet, but what we've done first is create the mass. So we have organizations around the world who are interested in this product, so that we'll have an outreach of over 10 million people, I think, by the time we launch, and that they're invested in getting the product out because they're going to make a portion of the subscription fees, because that's part of the model. The model is I'm spending my money on something that I want personally, but I'm spending it knowing that this company is going to give to this organization that I back and that I want to back. So you get you get a value proposition twice as a consumer. You get the value proposition of the actual product, and you get the value proposition of I feel good because I'm doing something good at the same time.
Well, who are you finding that are interested in the product?
Well, it ranges, and, so we have nonprofits who are doing things around the world, in small pockets, so you have somebody who might be building and let me explain how it works for a group, because we kind of talked to how it works for an individual. So this will make more sense if I do it that way.
Go ahead.
So as an individual, you get on and you take a moment and you put in your words and you see who, you don't see exactly who, but you see how many people and where around the world, and, can have that overall feeling of connectivity and connection with self. Now, if you join a group, what you're doing is you're joining that group group's moment. So that group, let's say it's a nonprofit, or it's a teacher that you go and you have a wonderful workshop with, and you want to remain connected to that group of people, when you go to those conferences and you go home and you're like, okay, every Thursday I'm going to want to connect with this group, and you set your clock, and that group actually now sends you that moment that you're going to have, meaning it will have the visuals and the messaging. It can't be advertising, but the messaging on it will be from that group that will give you a thought, or that teacher will give you a thought. And you'll spend those 3 minutes thinking about whatever that thought is, and then plug in your words. And then you get to see how that group is feeling at that moment. So it keeps you connected through that group.
Interesting. Okay.
And, so that's great on many different levels. One, it keeps me remembering the people that I was connected to and that experience that I had before, or it gives me a new experience with that group. So it's an ongoing experience. It also gives data to the group leader to say, okay, this is where my people are, my constituents. This is what they're thinking and feeling in this moment with this messaging. And, and it keeps people on a path. So people are interested in that way. Or if it can also be used for an individual, who is, let's say a mom wants to have people pray for her daughter who's sick. That would be a free group, because you're just connecting people in a moment as opposed to raising funds. Or if you're connecting, that mom wants to raise funds for her daughter's cancer treatment, then that's a paid group, but she can do that. And people can take a moment and pray for the daughter. And as long as they're part of that subscription, that money will go to her. But it's also used for, we're talking to large corporations who are looking at it for corporate cohesion, how great this would be to do in a hospital. Everybody who's sitting by a bedside is having the same experience all over the world.
Well, how about your documentary? Are you finding interest from that from all over the place as well? I mean, the quality of it, I could see it being on Netflix and things like that.
Thank you very much. I think that this is going to be a really interesting series, and we're just starting discussions about where it's going to end up. Because the other part of it is, as it grows up, as it becomes an adult person, as it continues. I mean, right now we have, 200 interviews from 25 countries, and we haven't even done we haven't launched our social media campaign yet, which we'll do this summer. And the videos have already been seen, 10,000, 12,000 times somewhere. It keeps increasing over, it's only been a couple months, but that's because each individual gets their own peace blog and they can send it out on their own. And so what I'm looking to do is to create it so that there are hundreds of thousands of these videos that people are talking about peace, and it's not in the your mama's peace movement kind of way. It's we're talking about that peace is something that we want to bring back into the conversation. Civility is something we want to bring back into the conversation. So I want it to be something where people can go and look online and go to a specific country and just see faces and press 1 and hear that person's story. It's a way to get into individuals as opposed to the prejudice of it. And we're all there. We don't mean to have prejudice, but we've been taught things. When I was in college, I was in Virginia, and I was born Jewish, and when I was down there, I had a roommate who asked me not to mention it to her parents when they came in for Parents' Weekend. And then she said, well, because you're not really a Jew anyway. And I was like, no, I'm a straight up Jew. That's how I came this round,
And from her perspective, her parents might have been she might have been more trying to protect her world. And her parents could have just been so prejudiced, that.
She could have been protecting me as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing that struck me even at 18 was that instead of it shifting her opinion by actually meeting somebody who she had never met before, instead of shifting her opinion, she decided I wasn't really a Jew because I didn't match what her preconceived notions and how she'd been taught.
Did she learn a lot with you?
Yeah. I think we both did. Yeah, we definitely learned a lot. But I feel like that's what these do, is these videos, when you actually hear somebody that you normally don't get to hear in a really personal way, after a while, it does shift your view, because you start seeing people as human, not whatever the label is that you're, that you've been taught. So and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, what are you learning as far as talking to people all over the world? Nobody wants conflict, right? It's scary. Can you imagine having places being bombed all around your community? Nobody wants that.
It's interesting. One of the things that was really striking with a couple of gentlemen who were speaking in Pakistan, and the thing that struck me is how matter of fact, and this could be a personality trait as well, is that somebody needs to distance themselves from the pain, so they speak more matter of factly. But he was just talking about, we asked about what was one of your favorite peaceful moments in your life, and he said, one of my favorite moments was when I was at this wedding and my 2 daughters were still alive. And, it was a really beautiful day, and it was, and it was he just said it so matter of factly. And he was maybe in his late 30s. So his daughters had to have been young, or another gentleman, we asked, what is peace to him? And he said, peace is the moment between when 2 dead bodies fall.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, we all are struggling in different ways, but this is, that they're used to a different kind of, a moment of mortality, it humanizes people in a way also of building empathy, of being able to, when you see them over and over and over again, of hearing a person, they may be speaking a different language, but the words that they're saying are things that you can feel. That's critical. I mean, I think that's the critical thing. The other thing that I find interesting is that people really want to speak. It's this kind of like confessional moment when they sit in front of you, that when you look somebody eye to eye, most times people open up, and it's not, even though the line of questioning may be what brings you peace and blah, 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 people get pretty deep pretty quickly, and you have to be open and ready for people to say anything. And that's what comes out of these moments. And that really, it makes the documentary better, right? You're sharing the reality of what's going on. Oh yeah. I mean, we have those moments of, again, it's how we connect. The larger documentary is going to be the fun part, Sarah, because again, being able to create a platform where people can go and look at the individual ones, that would be great. But I also want to weave them together, weave the stories together, weave the similarities and the differences. And we won't know what that is, for a couple of months as we pull this together and really see, the threads that bind us, that connect us. We don't know what those are yet. That's going to be revealed as we go along. Like, can you even imagine what it's going to be like when I'm down south during the Republican convention? I was trying to figure out, do I want to be at the convention? And I decided I didn't. I actually wanted to be in an area of the country that was more Republican than not, and find out how people were feeling on the street as opposed to in the convention itself. And I think
why is that? Do you think you'll get a better pulse of what's going on that way?
I think the delegates are are like one type of person potentially, or not one, but
sure,
they're more of a specific group, as opposed to if I'm in different states, I have the ability to walk into different sectors, and I want to be able to do that during that week and get more perspectives that way.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting for you to share that sooner rather than later,
Yeah, I'm talking right now to a number of different publications and trying to figure out who I'll be blogging through, so that's one of the things actually I'm doing today is kind of saying, okay, where do I want this to be getting out into the public over the next month or two? Because I think it's an important thing to see real time.
And for people to get a real pulse of it, and include, you're going to be doing the Democratic one as well, because that's
yes,
just as strange, but on a different dimension.
Absolutely. I mean, the one good thing I think that's happening with all of this is that nothing is being swept under the carpet anymore. There's, the carpet's been raised. It's like, when things are coming up, people are looking at it and going, that's not right.
Well, what is the 2 million votes that are missing in California?
I know. I actually need to find out if mine's one of them. I haven't called that number yet.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I was younger and I was at one of my first rallies in New York, and I opted out of that mode of protest early on in life because I was sitting at a rally and both sides were wrong, in my opinion. They were shouting horrible things at each other. Nobody was listening. There wasn't.
I think everybody's wrong.
Everybody's wrong. We're all being horrible right now, and so I think that's starting to happen too, as I've had conversations recently where you would think that these are progressive people and that they're not open to the dialogue any more than the people on the right are, and that's where the trouble's going to start. I was writing something the other day about you can't be open to everybody, but like that statement doesn't work.
I'm only open to the people that think just like me.
Right. We're all the same because all the people around me are all the same.
I am a very open person.
Right. To me. And I understand the challenge in it. I say that to people and they immediately start arguing with, well, what if you were faced with so-and-so? And what if you were faced with so-and-so? And I'm not saying that you need to go into a conversation and that you're open to their ideology, but to at least be open to them as people and not put a huge red X through an entire population because they have a different view of you as you. That's one of the things that I think we're missing right now is that we don't have the elder statesmen that we used to have. In Congress, there were people who worked across the aisle.
Yeah, exactly. You have
and we
to.
don't have that now.
You have to. So let's get to this question. How important is it for people around the world and actually in this country to work together for shared purposes? I mean, that's part of your documentary, right? And part of your goal. How important is that?
I don't think there's any other way. I mean, I just don't. I don't think we will survive as cultures, individual cultures or the collective if we don't.
I mean, it's the key to peace, right?
Yeah, it is the key to peace. It was one thing when we didn't know what was going on across the world. Then we really were in charge of taking care of our own. Now we know. You can't unclose that door.
Well, how can people learn about what you're doing? Can I, are there videos people can see? Can we put the trailer up on our radio page?
I would love that. Absolutely. I'd be happy to give that to you. And then you can get in touch with us through liveamoment.com, either at, info@liveamoment.com and sign up so that when the app is, available, we'll send it out for people to be part of the first wave of it, and hopefully that will be done by the fall. And that's the best way to get involved. And also to let us know if you're interested, in creating groups, and to be part of that first wave as well, because we're still formulating that part of it and working with all these different organizations on how that will go down. Because that's going to be the key to it, I think, is creating this overall global group, but also having the ability, and again, I ran nonprofits before, so I really value having a tool where you have passive income coming into a nonprofit. How great is that? Or for people who are
that'd be excellent, right? Nonprofit needs money. Yes.
Yes, because otherwise it's just such a huge resource when you need people to create grants for you, et cetera. And this might actually allow you to connect your population and send your messaging and be able to receive support and, dollars and cents as well as numbers of people connected. That's huge. But also we have a Facebook page. That would be the way to liveamoment.com is actually the Facebook page, and follow us. And then you'll be able to follow the documentary over the summer and my filmmakers who are elsewhere in the world. That would be the best way to do it that way.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much, Deborah, for joining us today.
Yes.
And I'm going to put a plug in for this. It's just, I saw the trailer and I'm very impressed with how the quality is just very good. So it'll be interesting to watch as you interview and do the work. It's just a ton of work that you're putting into this, which is amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's a lot of, well, just traveling everywhere. That's a lot of, you must like to travel.
I do, but you know what? It's also about sitting in front of people. I really enjoy sitting with people that I don't always understand. I like the challenge of that, as well as being able to connect the dots and going, oh God, I get them. Okay. I learned something. That's huge for me. So
how excellent. What an incredible project that you're working on. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy.
Thank you.
Be sure to go to my website at sarahwestall.com. Her trailer of her documentary is up there, or the link to it is up there. And you can also track the project as they go to different cities and different locations. Just an amazing thing. You can also donate to the peace movement that they have created, which I recommend anybody with extra cash laying around, or if you are a philanthropist, or if you just need to donate a certain percentage of your income just to fulfill your goals. This is such a wonderful, wonderful project to donate to. And as we leave, I am going to play a song by Katrina T. And this is the song Brightest Star, and she has donated the proceeds from this music to CARA, the Kids at Risk Action Board. I did a show a while back about the children in our country that are in abuse and neglected homes, and such an awful situation, and hopefully we can all stand up and help this really awful situation as well. Not only should we be working towards peace, but peace starts with our children. And hopefully you can take a moment and donate a little bit of money to their great cause. On my website, you will also find a donation button. Actually, Katrina T's CD, it's on the right side, and you can get to her page where you can purchase this music. So now as I close out the show, I'm going to play The Brightest Star by Katrina T. Have a wonderful day.
When I look into the brightest star, I know just where you are and how to find you. Find you in my, yes, I can find you in my dreams, and I can feel you close at hand, and I can somehow understand that I can feel in my
You've been listening to Business Game Changers with host Sarah Westall. Tune in each Monday at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, as Sarah brings you leading experts, visionaries, and newsmakers who provide the best commentary on big issues and cutting-edge innovations. Sarah's 20 years as a business executive will help you think like an entrepreneur with expertise, energy, and attitude. Tune in Mondays at 12 noon Pacific Time and learn more about Sarah at sarahwestall.com today.